Hey everybody, I'm Papagan, and welcome once again to another week of There's a Place. On this show, we're really into the aesthetic, the concept of hyperlocal, just everything it sort of embodies. But a big part of that has to do with geography and things that are site specific. I mean, here we are in the Manelli Mansion now. I would say this is very hyperlocal, but it's just hyperlocal basically means something that is just like really familiar in this aggressive, in your face kind of way. Like it's arresting how familiar things are. So, besides the internet discount mall clothes and the locations and all the stuff, I like to really go out and live the hyperlocal lifestyle. So this Saturday, I was really excited to get invited to a birthday party punk show at a sports bar in the City of Industry. Now, for those of you who don't know, the City of Industry, I don't know what it is. I can't tell you because it's just a place you hear about. I think they have some office parks. I know they have a place called Speed Zone where I went to a really fun birthday party previously, maybe when I was about 12 years old, and it was a go-kart place. That was really fun, but that was really my only experience with City of Industry. So I drive out there. It's a half hour out of LA in the middle of the night, but get there, a lot of familiar faces because it was a birthday party, but it's just in this strip mall with this enormous purple and blue neon sign that looked like a 50s diner from the 80s, like that kind of vibe. And it was at the back of the strip mall. So the sports bar, it was called like El Sporto or something like that. It had just some really generic kind of Latin name. No, they had liquor there, but the main thing was the beer. But the beer was kind of expensive, and it was a no-frills place. I was like, why is the beer so expensive? But then you look next door, and next door in the strip club, in the strip mall, was a strip club, actually called Deja Vu. So it was all nude, and all nude strip clubs don't serve alcohol for some weird reason. So the creeps would have to go from the strip club to the sports bar to liquor up. So all night, there were creeps going back and forth, and the bar was really gross, but it was a good time, and I was happy to be there. And I had seen enough pretty quickly, quite frankly, after maybe about an hour. But I went to 7-Eleven to get a hot dog, and I saw there just getting a Slurpee, a guy in a Speed Zone go-karting uniform. So I was like, yeah, that is what the City of Industry is about. What City of Industry is all about. It's about just go-karts, just like weird things. And I realized, everything's the same. All these little towns are the same. All the people are the same. They're no better than me. I'm no better at them. And that's like I said. Let's go out there and go experience some stuff like that. My guest tonight is making his second appearance on the show. Return. Very happy to have him back. You'll surely recognize him when he gets here. Greg Fond. What's up, Greg?
Hey, Adam. How's it going?
Going great. So I enjoyed your performance on Friday night.
Oh, thanks.
The High Functioning Flesh show.
That was a lot of fun.
Was that one of the better ones, would you say?
Yeah, for a lot of reasons. I think I don't know, that venue just has a sort of energy to it that nowhere else in town really does at the moment. And I think it has a lot to do, the place is called Non Plus Ultra. It's a warehouse, which is basically in a residential area. Mm-hmm. And it's weird. I think something around 300 people were there on Friday. And it's weird to imagine that you can have an illegal show with around 300 people there, loud and drinking and having a great time, and not get the cops called on you, but do that regularly even. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, that place it's very special for that. I feel like in LA especially, the police and things seem so eager to shut down illegal venues.
Well, it takes
unsanctioned venues, I guess.
Usually takes about a year.
Right.
Because you've been around longer than I have probably. There's been a lot of great venues that have just come and gone. That's usually how it is in LA. So there must be some protocol that the cops have to follow
Yeah.
that they can't just shut them down immediately.
I wonder if they have to like, I bet you they have like guys like who are in their like mid-30s who still kind of could look like they're in their 20s, and they buy them like some punk shirts from the mall and have them, go scope it out
Undercover.
a couple times. I remember, oh gosh, one time I was at a warehouse venue, and this guy who just didn't feel right was asking me like who he could buy drugs from, and like if it was cool if he drank a beer that he brought in the, like these really kind of weird questions that you just shouldn't be asking a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I always suspected that. I don't know what came of it. Maybe I answered a couple of questions that eventually led to the incrimination.
You dropped the dime on the
I
warehouse.
know, I blew it. But, I mean, 7th Street seems to do pretty well, which is also weird given how visible their location is. But I mean, and they even got shut down for the cops by a while, but they're kind of back up and running, just kind of doing the same, which is pretty cool and pretty strange. Especially like, the street behind 7th, I think it's called like Industrial Street or something, and they have like that like really fancy wine bar and all those restaurants and lofts now.
And that dumb pizza place down the street.
Yeah.
It's across the street from the bus station, though.
That's true. So it still attracts some ruffians, I guess.
Yeah, you're never going to clean up the neighborhood adjacent to the bus station.
Oh.
Doesn't matter how good Industrial Street gets. The bus station is going to keep that place sketchy forever.
Were they going to move? I mean, eventually, right, the new residents are going to get fed up with having the Greyhound station right there. Where are they going to move the Greyhound station to? Because, I mean, eventually, they're trying to move Skid Row, right? I mean, if they're going to move Skid Row, they're going to be able to move the Greyhound station.
That's a good point. Well, the Hollywood Greyhound station's already gone.
Really?
Yeah, that's been gone for a couple of years.
Right.
That was the greatest Greyhound station because you know that for decades people got off the bus there with just the highest hopes, just their dreams. Some people maybe
$20 in their pocket in a suitcase.
Yeah. right onto Wilcox. Steph, how you see the Walk of Fame, you see the sign, and then like a bum like spits on your shoes. Like, you're like, well, here we go.
Oh, I can't imagine what that must have been. I mean, because
it's still
obviously
happening.
Hollywood now is a lot different than it was then. But
I don't think it was that different, but it was definitely better back in like Day of the Locust time. Is that what you're thinking?
What do you mean?
Day of the Locust, you know that book?
No, I don't.
Oh, you gotta read this book. It's real short. I always recommend a book to people if it's short, because like you might be more likely to finish it. But it's this great book from the 30s by Nathaniel West, who it's about just like old Hollywood and just people who it kind of follows a couple different characters. So there's a guy who's a young screenwriter and he's kind of disillusioned with being in Hollywood, and then there's like a wannabe starlet whose father was like from the vaudeville era, and so she's like, like kind of wild or whatever, but she's like a native of LA. And then there's like a schlubby guy who moved out from the Midwest for his health because he like is kind of rich, so he's just like checking it out.
Yeah.
And it's pretty accurate to how life is in LA, especially in that neighborhood, that type of person.
It's fiction?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. And Nathaniel West?
Yes.
Cool. I'll have to check that out. I feel like there's a lot of like LA-based fiction that I just haven't made my way into yet. Like, what's his name? Is it Raymond Chandler?
Raymond Chandler, yeah.
I've talked to a couple of people who love being in the city of LA and like talked about him very specifically, and I hear him come up all the time. I haven't made it into it yet, but it seems like it'd be a lot of fun. It kind of seems like you get that real sense of place in it, where he's talking about real specific places you can go and see, even if they're much different now. But still, it's fun being able to like connect a fiction with like a physical locale.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I saw a great movie that I got at the Goodwill on VHS called Los Angeles: The Early Days, and it's like a train movie. It's for foamers, but it's about the red car and how it used to run everywhere in LA. Like 100 years ago, it went everywhere. It went to Huntington Beach, it went to Long Beach, it went to Santa Monica, it went everywhere. And then when they wanted to make freeways, they basically just put freeways down everywhere where there were train lines. So think about all the freeways in LA. There used to just be train lines there.
Wow. I've heard that before, but I've never
They
I've
were
never really like seen the evidence of it or anything.
on Glendale, in Echo Park when it goes under Sunset.
Yeah.
If you look at the street posts, they're the lamp posts. They're different. Those used to be the posts for the electric wires.
Oh wow! I've
And
never noticed that before.
over by in further down on Glendale and Riverside, closer to where we live.
Yeah.
There, behind the gas station, there are these like kind of concrete pylons that somebody painted like Easter eggs. You know what I'm talking about? You see them? Those are actually the reason those are even there. And I'm kind of mad that they painted on them, but at least it makes people notice them. Is those are the original foundation of a bridge that used to go up and run like along the hills. Basically, where the Flat 5 runs, is the Southern Pacific, and then they ran, I think, local trains on it too.
It's so hard to imagine
I know.
that was even like the reality of
They-
transportation.
They already had a train line that went everywhere, and then they got rid of it.
Instead of just modernizing and improving it, they just. Because I know there's like I've seen some of the pictures of like the old underground stations that were under Bunker Hill.
Yeah.
Which is just I don't know. It looks like the last place that ever would have been was LA. It has like you see the pictures and there's like hand painted signs and all this tile detail and stuff. It's really interesting.
And there were so many less people.
A lot less. I mean, have you ever read? Oh boy, there I go. There's a book. All right, next.
I have read a few books.
City of Quartz.
No.
Pretty cool. It's all about the development of LA.
Yes. I heard about this.
And it's not too long. It's basically like a collection of maybe like 8 or 9 essays, all kind of covering different topics in the development of LA. Some of them are incredibly interesting. Some of them not so much. Like there's an entire chapter on sort of the role of the Catholic Church in the development of LA, which I didn't find quite as interesting as some of the other topics. Like just talking about how I don't know. It's really interesting because it kind of gets into how like racist the development of LA was,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
which is something I found really interesting. Like they would build neighborhoods specifically zoned for single-family homes. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as like minority families basically would move in, they would move farther out to another suburb, and then these people would be stuck in this, turning single-family homes into multiple family residences, and that's why there's all the congestion and no parking and traffic and
Mm-hmm.
poorly laid out streets and all these places where there's a huge population was because of this like sort of unplanned, uncontrolled growth that happened between like the course of 70 years or something like that.
It happened relatively quickly to like what a nightmare is going to be to untangle.
Yeah.
It's because like nobody has any, this minimum wage thing is great. This is one of the best things that's ever happened. But nobody has anywhere to live anymore.
Yeah.
You can't. Dirk once said, Dirk?
Yeah.
Okay. So Dirk once very astutely pointed out, because Dirk is older than us, so he's been Dirk for a long time. He's seen some stuff.
That's great.
Yeah. So he was like, how things are getting worse? It used to be you could live by yourself if you wanted to. Now you can't do that anymore. I was like, oh yeah, that's true. I don't know anybody who lives by themselves in a 1-bedroom apartment. That's unheard of.
No.
1 person per bedroom in the house.
There's a new like luxury apartment complex that just built on Temple, kind of like Temple in Glendale. You know where called the Tribal Cafe is the place, and they tore all the buildings down next to that, and they put in these like luxury apartment buildings, and it says real big on it, luxury apartment, and they have a storefront literally next door to the Tribal Cafe, which is basically like a coffee shop that serves some like vegetarian sandwiches, like mostly just a coffee shop, I think, at this point. And they were like advertising like this would be a great location for a coffee shop, just like right next door to this like already kind of established place. It's been there for a long time, and they just put up a banner now that they've like opened the building, and it's like starting at 1950, 1-bedroom apartment.
What?
It's just like. I mean, I make $16 an hour, and I wouldn't be able to afford that.
Oh, that means soon you're going to be making just above minimum wage.
Yeah.
I'm worried about that. They're not. The rest of the
Oh,
wages
yeah.
aren't going to rise.
I wouldn't count on my employer to bump me up. What would it be? $5 more or? But
Yeah.
hey,
But that's still even barely what? Just you could barely scrape by. That's nuts.
yeah. I mean, I've got a roommate.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm married also.
Yeah. Right.
But,
So.
I mean, even we couldn't afford our apartment.
Oh.
I mean, when we have a 2-bedroom for $14.50, which is cheap. I feel like.
Hmm. Oh, that is good.
Anyway, sorry, I don't want
But
to talk
still.
about rent.
No, it's a big problem.
Yeah.
It's a big problem all around. But I think they need to make more things like housing projects, but that like are nice and have like a courtyard in the middle. It's like a tower with like kind of like Park La Brea.
Yeah.
More things like that. But because it seems like I noticed a trend. A lot of these buildings that are going up are only 4 or 5 stories, so that they don't have to build them out of steel. They can make them out of wood.
7 stories.
7, is that what it is?
I think that, yeah, like the bottom base is like the concrete steel, and then there's like 6 wood stories on top of it, like the one that burned down on Temple.
Yeah, that's how I heard about that.
And if you look, all the ones that look like that those same developers have made are all, well, they look exactly the same, but they're all exactly the same height. They're really hideous.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I think that they're. I think we're due for a bust with all of this stuff.
Yeah.
With that style of condo, with the gentrification, with these restaurants, with the chalkboard menu and the white tiles. You know what I'm talking about? The old-fashioned light bulbs.
Yeah.
It's not going to last.
No, it can't forever.
Yeah.
I
Can't wait for those days.
It's gonna be weird because I mean, from my experience, like, have you ever been in any of those style of apartments? Like, have you ever like had a friend or like gone to a party at one of them or something? Like, they're really weird. They feel like ghost towns. Like, I went to this one in downtown once, and we got there, and it seemed like nobody lived there. And this guy lived there. He's like, "Oh yeah, like I don't have any neighbors on my floor, and like 2 people live above me." And it was just these like massive like marble shelves and like fancy bathrooms and like the loft style living, and it was just like every experience I've ever had with a place like that, like it seemed deserted.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone can afford to live there, and I don't think anyone that could afford a place like that doesn't seem like the kind of place that. At least, I don't know, maybe I'm just projecting myself into that situation.
Well, at a certain point, if you can afford that much in rent, you might as well just rent a house 20 miles out of town, and then you have a house that you can live in that you own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I'm worried we're all going to get pushed to Long Beach or someplace like that. I think South LA might be due for a comeback, though. That could be the new spot.
South LA.
Not too far south, but maybe like a lot like Vermont and like Vernon. That's like a really bad area, but like that latitude longitude area, I think could be the next spot.
Is that kind of by where the dinosaur car wash that you were talking about is? I've been meaning to go see that.
They're opening 2 more. I just looked online.
It's a chain?
Oh yeah. Wow. They're opening 2 more. One is going to be on more like the Lamert Park area on Crenshaw, and the other one's going to be in San Pedro.
Great.
But I also found a ocean-themed car wash. So this is called Green Forest Car Wash. The other one is Blue Wave Car Wash. Not their competitors. Blue Wave is in Koreatown, but that's like $7. It's a little more expensive.
Do you get to ride through?
Yeah, you go through.
Do they have like fish and mermaids and things in there with you?
No, there's like a shark's head above. I haven't gone
you drive
in it
into
yet.
the shark's mouth, maybe?
No,
Oh.
nothing that cool. It's like he's kind of looking down on you, and there's like a statue of a pirate. It's not as good. There's no animatronic dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Gosh.
It's hard to beat.
That place is so weird. I'm gonna go there tomorrow.
Maybe I'll go this weekend. I've
Yeah.
been meaning to go ever since you told me about
It's
it.
really cool.
I haven't made the excuse to go down there yet.
There's that one is the closest one in Vermont, but the one I've been to all 3 of them. The one on Gage in Bell is the best one. They get better every time they do it. Those people are artists. I really want to meet them. I bet I could.
Have you reached out?
I know that it's a husband and wife team that do it. Hey, I should send them an email.
It sounds
Dude.
really cool, and I feel like if you're making car washes with animatronic like dinosaurs, you're probably pretty interesting because that's such a strange thing to do. Like,
Well, I want to see new variations on it, though. Do they always have to be dinosaur themed?
I mean, what else? What else would you have in mind? Like safari, maybe?
They did. That was the first one. Is jungle themed.
Oh, okay.
There's like one dinosaur, but they don't move at the jungle one. But I think the reason they do dinosaurs is because there's a company, a Japanese company that makes animatronic dinosaurs, and goes around to all these tourist attractions all over the country and sells these dinosaurs. So there's a big supply of animatronic dinosaurs.
Okay,
So it's good that these car washes are creating some demand.
that's
But
great.
they could create, I'm thinking like a tundra kind of situation. Like Arctic tundra, like
Okay.
a blizzard, space. I don't really know how you do that though. Old West.
Old West would be pretty funny. The dryers could be like tumbleweeds or something.
Yeah, the
Oh,
doors.
saloon
You go-
doors, right?
You go through the saloon doors. There's like sound effects and stuff. Ding!
I was imagining, and if they did another safari with animatronic safari animals, you'd have like a giraffe with a hose, and so your like car gets sprayed by the giraffe.
There's the elephant. There's an elephant.
Oh, right,
at
that
it.
makes more sense than a
And
giraffe.
it comes, but it's just
I was just thinking of a giraffe for some reason.
They do have a giraffe that's like in the front of it. It's a tiger. The dinosaur one has facts about dinosaurs, like in front of like the T-Rex, like the T-Rex was blah blah blah. It's like this. This is enough. Like you don't need to.
They just
Do that.
want you to realize that it's real.
People go nuts with signs though. People don't know where to stop with signs.
Oh man, I feel like science is the word that makes me. I feel like the internet should be banned. Like every single thing anyone talks about, it's like science says this. Like here's this thing that already makes me feel superior about myself, right? And then there's this article that says science says that makes me better than everyone else. So it's just like all day, like everything. I don't. I can't even imagine how. Like, who's doing a scientific study on like, if you brush your teeth with your opposite hand, that makes your IQ higher? Like, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, there's
It's
people
kind
who
of frustrating.
people who can't afford homes, and there's somebody funding these studies.
But
It's grad students. It's people in graduate school are perpetuating all of this but they need to do these studies. If they don't do studies, then nothing gets changed because people with the money go, "Oh, we got to see a study about it." It sucks. Everything really sucks. Let me just say that.
true. I guess that's
Yeah.
sort of what we've been talking about the whole time.
Yeah.
Now. Science and development.
Mm-hmm.
It's all flushing us straight down the tube.
Yeah. I mean, we know how it sucks. We've been talking about how it sucks, but why? Why does everything suck so bad? No one has an answer.
No, I think that's one of those questions.
Yeah. All the evil and bad things. They outweigh. See, this is how you know there's more bad things than good things. So the same amount, you wouldn't notice either. Everything would just be chilled out, and if there were more good things, everyone would be happy all the time.
I don't know. Maybe I'd
more-
be complaining about how nice everything is and how
That's true.
everyone's having such a good time all the time.
Oh, finally something bad happened. Oh, good. Yes, my car
I
broke
know,
down.
It worked out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You're probably onto something with that one. So we're talking a lot about the car wash and stuff, and it's like this fake environment. I'm really into. I'm really into this phenomenon. It's called a hyper reality or a simulacra.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that term?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. That's like my favorite thing. Like a place that is a recreation of a place. It's like a more perfect recreation of a real place.
Yeah.
Like a big plate Mexican restaurant.
There was, I think a big plate Mexican restaurant is a great example of that.
Because it's, they got like the music playing and they got like the shingles indoors,
There's always a lot of the same three colors. And
Yeah. The waitress is wearing some big crazy dress.
I was in Germany once, and I went with my stepdad for it was Munich, and it was the middle of winter, and it was like right after it was. I don't know. Somehow I was able to tag along on his business trip with like there was like a deal on a plane ticket or something, and I went with him and stayed in his hotel, and I just had like 4 days. It was my first time out of the country, just by myself in Germany. I think I was 20 or 21. So I was just wandering around. It was like freezing cold. Nobody was out because it was the middle of winter, and I ended up like not knowing what to do. Like I just wandered the city, and then I decided they're supposed to have good beer in Germany, so I went to some beer hall and got really drunk by myself. And then like once that happened, I realized I was hungry, and I realized I was like trying to think of where I could eat, and then I realized I'd seen a Mexican restaurant. And like for some reason that was the only thing I'd seen all day walking around that I could think of was a place for me to eat. And I probably could have eaten at the beer hall I was in, but yeah, so I like got back on the subway and like figured out my route through this to the like other side of the city to go to this Mexican restaurant, and it had like this like kind of incredibly racist like it was like a mannequin wearing like a red, yellow, and green poncho with like a sombrero that said like Mexico on it. And he was holding like a bottle of tequila, and he was like clearly supposed to be sleeping, and it was like on the roof over the door. And then I went inside, and they had like a taco bar, and I didn't end up eating. It was just really weird in there, and I was the only person in there, which made me feel even weird. Like I was like drunk and 20 and all alone in this Mexican restaurant. And there was like 5 waiters just like doting over me, and I eventually just left and went. I don't think I ate anything that day. Oh geez, I was gonna say. Never mind. That's good.
The German Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
I like that. Mexican restaurants in other parts of the world must just be a joke.
Yeah. I went to one in London. They're so into Mexican food in Europe, and they all make it so poorly. It's really weird. I feel like it's really easy food to make. It's, it's food based around like
the rice and beans and some meat
and some oregano and some peppers and some corn or flour tortillas. But we went to a restaurant, and I thought I'd be safe with potato tacos, and it was just like. It was like hash browns and like a cold like
shots like coleslaw, hash browns and coleslaw and gravy instead of salsa, gravy salsa.
It was horrible, but they did have El Yucatan, the green one, which was my favorite. You know which hot sauce that is?
Oh yeah.
I probably pronounced it wrong, but
maybe.
They had that, which made up. I just put enough of that on that it was fine.
So speaking of Europe, what do you think of all this FIFA stuff going on? It's all over public radio. That it's all they talk about all day.
Well, I don't actually follow it that closely. I know that the president stepped down because of all the corruption allegations, and I know that for probably years or a lot longer than I'd even been aware of it, of FIFA even, that people have been making these kind of allegations. And I know I've read a bit about like the Qatar one that's coming up. Where
12,000 people have died.
12,000 people have died, and there's like all these like
1,200. 1,200. Let's be fair to the Qataris. It's 1,200.
You don't want to just way overshoot the number from our memory?
1,200 is still a lot.
Okay. Yeah. No. Of course. And then there's all these other like allegations of like kind of basically like that these people are slaves and they live in these labor camps that are like so far removed from anywhere that they could not possibly escape or leave them on their own. It's really kind of insane. And then there's a lot of I've heard some similar things about the Olympics even
not the Olympics.
Yeah, the Olympics.
I like the Olympics.
Just like how I don't know how they like kind of just displace and totally screw over large parts of these communities so that they can have these big events.
But that's just a unfortunate effect of the Olympics.
Right.
The FIFA thing is they're criminals.
Really, I'm not totally up to date.
Yeah, there's like bribes and stuff. There's a $10 million bribe involved for the South African World Cup. It's big money. And I'm just happy about it because I'm not a sports fan, I'll be honest with you. But when the World Cup rolls around, everyone's talking about it. Soccer is not even popular in America. So I can deal with football because that's only for a couple months. And the Super Bowl is fun. The parties are fun. And baseball is America's pastime. That's fine. And basketball, like, it's fun to watch. I mean, Lakers are always winning. But soccer, I really just do not care about it one bit. So I'm so glad our government is going after this game that I don't find interesting.
Do you think that do you think there's maybe like an even deeper conspiracy where they're just trying to take out soccer and get an American
absolutely,
sport in there?
absolutely.
Which one do you think they'll choose? I think it's got to be football at this point, right?
Yeah,
Because everyone else calls it football.
Mm-hmm.
It's our language, isn't it?
Yeah, think that it probably could be pressure from like the team owners, because they're all corrupt too. All the team owners of football,
right?
Because all those guys like get brain damage. Did you see that on Netflix? Broke, that
No.
30 for 30. Oh, it's about how everybody who plays professional sports, unless you're like a big, like Michael Jordan, some big star, you end up just getting injured a couple of years in, and then you have like all these family members dependent on you, and you have all these houses that you bought and no way to pay for them, and so you just end up like broke and in jail. But then the agents make a lot of money because they just go through. Sports are bad, I'm telling you. People need to spend more time reading and drinking beer. Drinking beer is so much better than sports.
That's the problem, is that you got to combine those things.
You can just drink beer.
I don't know. Do you ever just drink beer?
Yeah, why not?
Like, that's all you do? You don't do anything else?
Just
You just crack a couple of beers and sit in the dark?
Well, I sit in the dark and do anything.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you're going to drink beer, you're probably going to want to have a second activity to accompany it. I feel like that's why people like sports so much. Because it's like an excuse for them to drink beer and yell and get a little wild.
Mm-hmm. But you
can't do that when you drink and read a book. And it's also kind of hard to concentrate.
After about rock show.
Huh?
You go to a rock show.
That's true. That's what I like to do.
Yeah. Way better than sports.
True.
Or a movie. People bring alcohol into the movies.
Yeah, that's enjoyable.
When I was doing those movie screenings at BV Cinemas, people were like, "Oh, is it BYOB?" It's like every movie is BYOB.
Yeah,
like just bring it in.
Just bring it in.
Yeah, let's bring it. Like what? Yeah, that's a big deal, guys.
I was like, my friend used to work at a theater that would do like midnight showings of like classics, and on the Thursday night before it would be on a Friday. On the Thursday, he would build the print, and then he'd invite all of his friends to the movies. And it was just like a free game party with like 20 of us in this huge movie theater, and he didn't care at all, so we'd smoke cigarettes and do everything we wanted inside, and we'd watch like a film print of Taxi Driver or like Lawrence of Arabia.
That sounds amazing.
It was really fun. It was only maybe like a year where we were able to do that, but it was a lot of fun at the time.
Doing it once. What's the most fun you ever had in a movie theater?
I worked at the movie theaters from like 16 to 22 maybe. And the first theater I worked at was me, and basically all 7 of my friends from high school were we were like 8 of the 10 employees there. And our manager was this woman named Kathy who was just totally checked out. And she would sit upstairs. She turned the storage closet in the projection room into her office, and turned her downstairs like manager office into the storage room. So she would just go sleep in her office, and then a bunch of 16-year-olds had pretty much total control over this movie theater. And this was around the time Jackass came out, the movie. So naturally we were 16. That's what we wanted to do. So we spent a couple of months making our own version of Jackass, doing stunts and pranks on customers and filming it all while we were at work. And we ended up making like I don't know, it was maybe like 15 minutes long. It's like this movie of us breaking things and tripping each other and all sorts of things. That was actually a lot of fun. I guess that doesn't really count as going to the movies, but it's definitely the most fun I ever had at the movies.
That trumps mine, which Snakes on a Plane.
Oh yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
Speaking of, this goes back to the last time I was here, but when I went to see Snakes on a Plane, me and my friend decided we were both going to drink a bottle of Thunderbird during the previews. And we both did. It was great.
Oh, yeah.
Not the big one, the little one.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But it made the whole experience that much more fun.
I wish I had known about Thunderbird when I was into Snakes on a Plane. I was so into it. I was like 18 when that movie came out. I was so into it that I won a contest, and they sent me a bunch of Snakes on a Plane posters and stuff. I had like a party, and we got a 6-foot sub. It was mainly an excuse to get a 6-foot sub. I'd always wanted to do that.
From Subway?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great.
I also got a 6-foot sub a couple years ago that was on the 6-foot bread from a place in the valley. So
wait, so when they send you a 6-foot sub, is it a bunch of 6-inch subs lined up? Or
it's
just 6 feet of 6-inch subs?
6 feet of sub.
Oh, so they don't like not.
It comes on a big long thing.
Okay.
We had to put it in my buddy's station wagon.
To get it to the
part,
location.
Yeah.
Great.
And then, of course, there's a lot left over. So to put it in the fridge, it comes on like a long plank. So I just saw this piece of wood. So I sawed the piece of wood so it would fit in the fridge.
Did you use a hacksaw?
Yeah.
Did you saw through the sandwich first?
No, the sandwich is already eaten.
Oh, right.
Sandwich was half eaten, but so 6 feet of
Okay.
plank.
I see.
It's cool. I need to get 6-foot subs more often. Every couple months, I think would be. It's not that expensive. It's like $150, $100.
How long do you think you have to eat it? Like, say you go
2 days.
You go into it just you.
Oh, never. Yeah, you never finish
No.
it. No.
Maybe it could be like a roommate.
Well, no, it was still not. I'm just trying to think of like the biggest party situation. People wouldn't eat it. They don't eat it when they see that much sandwich. They take it for granted.
They're intimidated.
They're intimidated.
They don't want to take too much or too little. You never know what's going to be in there.
Yeah, a party. It's tough to know how much food to get for a party. Usually too much.
Yeah, and then you're stuck with it.
That party Friday night after your show, though, they had a bunch of Hawaiian barbecue, and it had been sitting out all night. But Chris Kirk and I were just like, "Hey, some ribs, all right."
Oh, the one, yeah,
Yeah.
We got there right at the same second the police came. And
Yeah. Okay. Were the police really there?
yeah, they were.
Okay. What were the police going to do?
Nothing. They didn't even go up to the party. They just
Exactly.
but people were scared.
What are people so worried about? Like, it's not like we're teenagers and we're like, oh, they're going to tell my parents. Like, you're probably in your 30s and you like rent this house for all these years and you're throwing a party. What are the cops going to do to you? What's illegal about? Is it illegal to a party?
I don't know. I don't think so. I hope not.
Even when I was in high school, and there would be parties, the cops would just come and just make all the kids leave and get in their cars and drive home.
Yeah, I think those people might have been overreacting a little bit.
You can't, I'm guilty of this myself, but you can't throw a party and be like, promote it really well and have a lot of friends and have a lot of alcohol and stuff still late at night and then be mad that a lot of people come.
I saw you kick a bunch of people out of your house.
I did.
once.
Okay, that's
It was your birthday party.
that's right. Hey, it happens.
I forget who the girl who's...
Maggie.
Yeah, it was also her birthday party,
Yeah.
and she was kind of upset.
Hey, yeah, but you know what? My house, and also I was right, and it was a controversial move, and so I'm proud that it was controversial.
It's remembered.
I'm proud
It was a
of
great party.
creating the controversy. That's what you want a memorable experience for people.
I think right after that was 3 people tried to pierce Chris Kirk's ear in your kitchen.
Right? Yes, he was getting out of hand. He could have gotten hurt.
I think he did.
He got hurt.
Well, he had like three in the front and 2 in the back. Weird holes. I don't think one of them made it even through his ear. With his,
Yeah. See, if people were getting hurt, it was the right decision.
Yeah.
People always like, whenever I do something like that, people, or just in general, people are like, oh, you're like a dad. Oh, you're such a like a dad. Like that's a weird, like it's not a compliment at all because like a lot of people don't like their dads. But then also it's just like, what, telling you something is unsafe is like what a dad would do? Okay, like you guys are being unsafe. Like this is enough. It's too noisy. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I
like it when somebody lays down the line.
Okay.
Lays down the law.
I mean, that is genuinely the role of a dad.
It's just somebody takes charge. I could see Melissa McCarthy doing it in one of her movies. The big fat lady from Bridesmaid.
Oh, right. Yeah.
She would do that, right?
Lay down the law.
Yeah.
That's true.
She a dad. Like I could imagine. Well, nobody else, I guess. I was trying to think of
That's
another.
the only other person besides you
Me.
that could lay down the law.
McCarthy, yeah.
Let
Let's
everyone
see.
know their behavior is unsafe.
I'm trying to think of people who could. Oh, Jerry Springer. Final thought. He lays it down. Yeah, people do it. I was trying to think of like a young person. Oh, Kanye West. He is a dad, but he's always just doing controversial things.
That's like the opposite of what you were saying. He just does things.
Yeah, he's laying down his opinion. He's like, I'm the greatest rapper.
I don't know. That's kind of outside of dad territory there, though.
Do you think so?
Yeah, because I mean, a dad, you get like the "I'm the greatest dad" T-shirt from.
Yeah, I'm the
for
greatest
Father's
rapper.
Day, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't get that T-shirt. Like he already made it.
True, but he also made his rap music.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of rap music myself.
No.
I don't relate to it. But then also, people are always think that's like, oh, you don't like rap music? Oh, I was like, well, do you like Tiny Tim? Like, do you like weird music? Like, I don't expect you to be into every single thing. But yeah, rap music. I like story songs. That's why I like country music.
I feel like a lot of rap music is story songs. Though.
But the stories are all about getting your dick sucked.
That's not true.
A lot of rap music is about that.
Sure, a lot of it is, but not all of it.
I like
And
the
even
club.
so, even so, in that in that like realm of it, it's still telling a story, and it's still putting like a point of view and a way of living and all these things across. It's just maybe doesn't. I mean, doing it in a different way, of course, but I don't think it's like inherently God, what's the word? I don't think it's like not valuable because of that.
I'm just saying I don't relate to it, but
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
like the club going up on a Tuesday song. that song is good. Anything that makes it to the mainstream, I'm usually a fan of when
Yeah.
it comes to music. The All I Want for My Birthday is a Big Booty Hoe. That's an old song, I know, but I like that one.
I don't know. I like those because they're so dumb and they're
Yeah.
so relatable, and they just become like. I wonder if the people that make those songs like realize like how stupidly perfect they are, and how they're just going to like maybe this like I always wonder about like I don't hear those songs when they're new. I hear them like way watered down. Like after I hear people singing them at some parties or something for like 3 years, then I figure out it's
Yeah.
a song that everyone already knows. But like I wonder if like when they start like is that music like really cool like for a while, and then it sort of like kind of percolates out, and then it just starts to be silly, or is it like silly at first and then just explodes and everyone knows?
I think everyone knows how silly it is, but the creators of it certainly, and maybe the initial audience, are not 100% aware of the potential
Oh, yeah.
for the silliness to affect people of all walks of life. So, and that's the exciting part that makes it percolate.
Yeah.
So look how silly this is. More things need to be silly. They, in the 20s and 30s, they used to have all these buildings that were shaped like things, like what they sold. Like they have that barrel building. There's still, some left.
Yeah.
But why don't people do that anymore? Everything should be like Disneyland. Disneyland is the happiest place on earth. It's so fun to just like, not wait in line and stuff, but the architecture is all crazy. Like everything should be like that.
There's there's this really incredible interview with it's the drummer of the Ramones,
Marky Ramone.
where he gave on WFMU a few years ago, and it's pretty. You can find it. It's just like it's like best of WFMU, and it's like this Marky Ramone interview, and he's talking just about all of these things, about how he's going to get the Ramones back together, and he's going to sell out all these. And of course, this is after all the other guys are dead.
Mm-hmm.
And like how he's like the soul of the band, and how he's going to sell out all these venues that they used to sell out, and all this craziness. and the guy who's interviewing him is just kind of egging him on, and then he talks about this erotic novel he's been writing, and he like reads a passage, and like the character in the novel is very clearly him. He's like he's like described as wearing like Converse and like tight jeans, but it takes place during the Revolutionary War. But it's like it's really bizarre. But then he talks about his signature pasta sauce, which he sells when he does appearances. My friend has a jar. It's signed. But he was also talking about how he wants to get into architecture. And he has this really great idea for making a building shaped like a drumstick in New York City to show that he loves the drums and that he loves New York City. And then he was, like, the guy was like, "You're going to build a building shaped like a drumstick?" Kind of trying to egg him on. And then he started, like, if I remember correctly, he was, like, yelling across his, like, office to, like, his main architect. And but it was, like, just him in his weird apartment, I'm sure. Like, I don't know. It was pretty funny.
A drumstick, not a drum. Just a stick. I
guess if you're trying to fit it into a skyline.
Yeah, it looked great. But I had no idea Marky Ramone was such a kook.
Oh yeah, he's
His pasta sauce.
And I think his live set is like him playing drums live along to like Ramones recordings. It's like,
It sounds amazing.
I've never seen it, but I've heard some things.
An act that's the drums is the soul of it is always really funny. On a really old episode of the Del Talk Show, we had on Chris Alive, who was an all-drum tribute to Kiss. But he couldn't bring the drums to the studio because he didn't have them, because he was just like, he literally out of his car.
Yeah.
But he did all the makeup, and he had his own version of Kiss, but it was white, but like a big C spelled out Chris, like Peter Chris, but his name was Chris. But yeah, he did a 45-minute set, or I mean, I guess it was his act. He just air drummed it for me, but just doing Kiss songs where he would sing, he had the thing, and then he would play the drums.
Could he sing them?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. So he'd just sing and play would he play the recordings of the guitars, or was there nothing? It was
Just the drums.
Wow, that's really weird.
Yeah.
How did you find that?
My first job was at Jamba Juice, and it was with a friend of mine got me the job who was kind of like a bad influence on me. Nothing bad ever happened, but he was definitely kind of less like, "Hey, you should do this," like kind of whatever, in a harmless way. But you know, criminals are always like really nice guys, like really sweet guys. It's one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were working at Jamba Juice, and he was really personable because he's a criminal in there, good at talking to people, and we met Chris Alive, and he would come into Jamba Juice all the time, and he mentioned that he did the drum tribute to Kiss. I was like, "You got to come on my public access show," and he's like, "All right, 17-year-old Jamba Juice employee, I'll appear on your television show." So yeah, it was cool. Chris Alive. I never, by the time the internet came around a few years later, like really big, MySpace and stuff, couldn't track him down. So it didn't even last into the digital age.
That's too bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just imagining. That sounds like some fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you meet all sorts of people at Jamba Juice. That's not true. He was one of the best people. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to share a person I used to know from an old job I had.
Let's do it, because we got about a minute left.
Oh, a minute?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Oh, there used to be this lady named Flame. I worked at a coffee shop. And she would come in and drink a latte, and she would write letters to her friend in prison. But I kind of think she maybe didn't have a friend in prison. She lived in her van with 2 cats. She had chicken wire around all the windows. And one day she left her note, or her letter, but she'd like crumpled it up like she didn't finish it. And each sentence was in a different color ink. And it was just like a really paranoid rant about getting locked up for smoking weed. But she was like in her late 60s. She's a very strange lady.
Crazy people usually will use a lot of different colored inks, I've noticed. They're into that.
Yeah, she had one of those pens where you... Yeah.
That's who they're made for.
I guess so.
They're made for nutty people. Well, Greg, what's the new High Functioning Flesh album called?
Definite Structures.
Definite Structures. All right, well, that's available on the internet and record stores and at your concerts.
Oh, yeah.
All the places you can buy music.
It's there.
You can get it. And, any other projects? Den. We never talk about music when you're on the show. Never comes up. This happened last time.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I've got another band
There's
called...
that band that played at the Cha-Cha the one time. Were you in that band?
No.
No, the one with
You
Chris
thinking
and
of
Sam.
Leather Slave?
Yeah, right.
No, I'm not in the band, but that one's
Okay.
great. I think
Yeah.
they're going to play again.
Oh, great. Well,
Hopefully at the Cha-Cha.
yeah, that was
That's
cool.
a good time.
Yeah, a lot of bands out there. We'll keep it up. And everyone, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, this is Adam Papagan reminding you that there's a place you can go, and it's your mind. Good night.